Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Timothy, and if there's one thing I've learned the hard way, it's that marriage is not a straight road. People like to believe that if a relationship starts strong, if two people love each other and share the same dreams, then that's enough to keep them together. But that's not how life works. Marriage doesn't just fall apart in one explosive moment. It crumbles in small, quiet ways. And if you're not paying attention, it will feel like everything collapsed overnight. But the truth is, it was breaking for a long time. You just didn't see it. This is my story. A story about how I went from being a devoted husband, a man who worked hard to build a good life for his wife and himself, to realizing that the woman I married had already checked out of our relationship. What happened next changed everything. At the start, everything feels fresh, exciting, and full of possibilities for Linda and me. When we got married, we had a vision of building something better than what we came from. Our families were comfortable, but we wanted more than just comfort. We wanted security, success, and a future where we didn't have to think twice about taking a vacation or buying something nice just because we felt like it. That dream kept us motivated. I was always ambitious. Civil engineering isn't just about drawing plans and signing off on projects. It's hands-on, and if you want to succeed, you have to be out there, on site, making sure things get done right. That meant I traveled a lot, sometimes for weeks at a time. But Linda, she admired that about me. She loved my work ethic and the way I pushed myself to build something bigger than just a paycheck. In those early years, we both saw my absence as a necessary sacrifice. We knew it was temporary, that in a few years, we'd be in a position where I wouldn't have to be gone so much. And for a while, that belief was enough. Whenever I was home, I made sure to make up for lost time. We had our routines, little traditions that kept us connected. Fine dining at beautiful restaurants. Linda had her favorite spot, and we made it a point to go there at least once a month. We saw movies together, taking turns picking what we watched. Sometimes we planned short weekend trips, just the two of us, away from everything. Other times we kept it simple. Late-night drives, long conversations, just being present with each other. I thought those moments were enough to hold us together, to remind her that no matter how often I traveled, she was still my priority. Looking back, I thought we were good, but she never told me otherwise. There was no major argument, no obvious sign of resentment. As far as I knew, our connection was strong. We had fun together, we laughed, we planned for the future. If someone had told me back then that everything would eventually fall apart, I wouldn't have believed them. When my career started picking up, I wasn't thinking about distance or what it would do to my marriage. My team was good, and because of that, we kept landing more contracts. More contracts meant more money, but also more work. I was constantly traveling out of state for site inspections, making sure everything ran smoothly. Linda never openly complained. She didn't accuse me of neglecting her or tell me I was gone too much. That's what made it easy to believe things were fine. I later realized she wasn't okay. She had just learned to live with it. To fill the gap my absence left, Linda started working longer hours. She poured herself into her job, and I thought that was a good thing. I even felt relieved, less guilty about leaving all the time. I saw it as her adjusting, not as a sign that something was slipping between us. You'd think that as my work increased when I'm back, my wife would be excited to see me, right? Yeah, that's not how it went. The first red flag? Her attitude. It wasn't outright hostility, but it wasn't affection either. She still did all the usual things, greeted me, asked about my trip, but there was no warmth behind it like before. I tried to brush it off, but every time I came back, the distance between us felt wider. I'd try to engage her, asking her about her day, but she wasn't interested. She'd give short answers, change the subject, or sometimes just flat out ignore me. If I pushed too much to know what was wrong, she'd sigh and say, "Nothing's wrong, Timothy." But I could feel that something wasn't adding up. Then, she started filling her time with new activities. She joined a gym, picked up tennis, started going out more. At first, I was happy for her. I figured, hey, it's good she's keeping busy while I'm gone. But then I noticed she was keeping busy when I was home too. I'd be expecting us to catch up, but she'd come in, grab her stuff, and head out. Even when she was home, she'd be on her phone, scrolling, texting, watching TV, but not engaging with me. Conversations that used to be full of laughter turned into surface-level exchanges. No real connection. It was like talking to a stranger who just happened to live in my house. I thought it would get better, but as time went on, I started to realize that every time I traveled and came back, things got worse. The tension got heavier. She got colder, and I was still clueless. During one of my breaks, she came home even later than usual. It was close to midnight, and I was already in bed when I heard the front door open. The next morning, I decided I needed to bring it up. "Linda," I said, keeping my voice steady, "you've been coming home late a lot lately. Is everything okay?" She didn't even look up from her coffee cup. "Yeah, I've just been hanging out." "With whom?" I pressed gently. She sighed, finally turning to face me. "With friends, Timothy." "Why does it matter?" She was now defensive. "It matters because you've never done this before," I said, keeping my voice even. "I don't mind you having a social life, but coming home this late doesn't make sense." That's when she snapped. "I'm your wife, not your property. You don't own me." I just stood there, staring at her, completely caught off guard. In all our years together, she had never spoken to me like that. I didn't argue. I didn't even know what to say. Instead, I just nodded slowly and stepped back. From that moment on, everything changed. She stopped even pretending to be engaged in our conversations. When I tried to talk about anything remotely emotional, she shut it down, and when I pressed, it turned into arguments. It got to the point where I started dreading conversations with her. I was afraid of her reaction. Despite my busy schedules, there was one thing I never compromised on: our special days. I made sure I was present for our anniversary and birthdays. That was our rule, something we had agreed on early in our marriage. No matter where I was, no matter how many contracts I had lined up, I would always be home on those days. And I kept my word. This time was no different. A day before our 5th anniversary, I wrapped up my work and made sure to return home early. I wanted to settle in, rest, and make sure everything was perfect for the next day. I had something special planned. An evening just for us, a way to reconnect, to remind ourselves of what we had built over the years. When Linda walked through the door that evening after work, I told her I had planned something special for our anniversary, something she would love. I expected her to react the way she used to, with excitement, maybe even a little curiosity. Instead, she just smiled and said, "Okay." Looking back, I should have seen it as a sign. The way she answered wasn't the response of someone looking forward to a romantic evening with her husband. But at that moment, I didn't think much of it. The next day, I woke up feeling a sense of anticipation. I had planned everything perfectly. I had made reservations at my wife's favorite restaurant. I even picked up a thoughtful gift, something personal that I knew would make her smile. It wasn't just about the dinner. I intended to remind her that, no matter how much work kept me away, I never forgot what mattered. She was supposed to be home by 4 p.m. That was our arrangement. That's how it had always been when we had something planned for the evening. But 4 p.m. passed. Then 4:30. I told myself not to overthink it. But when 5 p.m. rolled around and there was still no sign of her, something didn't sit right with me. I called her. No answer. Isin na text. No reply. So, I opened the Find My app and checked her location. The pin didn't show her at the office. It wasn't even on the way home. She was at a hotel. I blinked and refreshed the app, convinced it had to be a glitch. But no, the location stayed the same. A hotel. On our anniversary. My mind raced, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed to see for myself. I grabbed my keys and drove, the GPS leading me straight to the address. But when I got there, I realized something. The location led me to a restaurant tucked right behind the hotel. I parked across the street, trying to process what I was looking at. Through the large glass windows, I scanned the tables, searching. And then I saw her, Linda, sitting at a table, leaning in close to a man. He was much younger than her. They were laughing, their hands brushing across the table. The scene looked intimate to me, but I watched. Then, As if the universe wanted to make things clearer, I saw her reach for her phone. A second later, my own phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the message. I'm stuck at work. That was the moment everything snapped into focus. Here is my wife, laughing with another man on our anniversary, and lying to me. I typed 2 simple words as a reply. No worries. And that was it. I turned around, walked back to my car, and drove away, because I knew I was done. The drive home was silent. When I got home, I grabbed a suitcase and started packing. I wasn't thinking about what I was leaving behind, only what I needed to take. I just packed, zipped up the bag, and walked out without looking back. I turned my phone on silent, tossed it onto the passenger seat, and drove. I didn't check the time. The road stretched ahead of me, dark and empty, except for the occasional headlights of passing cars. By the time I pulled into a small hotel off the highway, it was 2 a.m. Once inside, I locked the door, dropped my bag by the bed, and finally reached for my phone. 10 missed calls. All from Linda. I didn't call back. Instead, I opened my gallery, found the photo I had taken of her with that guy, and sent it. Within seconds, my phone lit up again. Another call. Then another. Then a flood of texts. Linda had officially lost it. She was all over the place, denying it, then trying to explain, then blaming me for not being around, then back to denying it. I wasn't interested in hearing her justifications or her guilt-driven attempts to do damage control. Weeks later, I filed for divorce after what I saw on our anniversary. I knew there was no coming back from it. Some things can be fixed, but not this. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity, and prepared myself for the battle ahead. Of course, Linda didn't take it well. She immediately flipped the script, painting herself as the victim. According to her, I was the one who had destroyed our marriage. She told anyone who would listen that I had abandoned her for my work, that I was never around, and that I left her lonely and neglected. In her version of the story, she was the loving wife who had been pushed into the arms of another man because I had emotionally checked out. But I wasn't surprised. People like Linda don't take responsibility. They find someone else to blame. And in this case, that person was me. Thankfully, the state we lived in had laws that favored the spouse who had been wronged. The law saw her as the one who had broken our marriage, which meant she wasn't entitled to the things she thought she was going to get. She tried to fight for more, claiming she had supported me emotionally while I built my career, that she had sacrificed for our marriage and deserved a significant share of our assets. The divorce process dragged on for months. It was exhausting. The meetings with lawyers, the endless back and forth, the arguments over what was fair and what wasn't, it all took a toll. Linda made it as difficult as possible, probably hoping I'd given just to get over with, but I didn't. By the end of it, she had to accept the reality. She got a fair settlement, but not the payday she had been expecting. She had a job, she could support herself, and the court saw no reason to award her anything extra just because she wanted it. I won't call it a victory because nothing about divorce feels like winning. I wouldn't have wanted it to end this way. No one gets married thinking they'll be signing divorce papers one day. Now that everything is said and done, I want to leave you with these important lessons I learned from this experience. If there's anything you take away from my story, let it be these. First, neglect is dangerous. Marriage is like a fire. It needs attention to keep burning. If you don't prioritize your partner, someone else will fill the space you leave empty. I thought providing financially and making sure my wife was comfortable was enough. What I didn't see was how my absence created a gap, and she found someone else to fill it. It doesn't justify what she did, but I can't ignore the fact that neglect weakens a relationship. You can't put your marriage on autopilot and expect it to survive. Second, pay attention to the signs. People don't just wake up one day and decide to cheat or walk away. It starts small. Emotional distance. Conversations become dull and short. Passive-aggressive comments. A shift in how they spend their time. People leave emotionally long before they walk out physically. By the time I realized she had already checked out of the marriage, it was too late. And lastly, know when to walk away. Not every relationship is worth saving. I used to believe love could fix anything. I thought if I just tried harder, if I just made more time, we could work through it. But a relationship isn't something one person can fix alone. If the other person isn't willing to fight for it, there's nothing you can do. I had to accept that. It hurt, but I chose to walk away. So, to anyone watching this who might be going through something similar, I hope this story helps you see things clearly. If you've been neglecting your partner, fix it before it's too late. If you've been ignoring the signs, start paying attention. And if you're in a relationship where the other person doesn't respect you enough to work on it, don't be afraid to let go. If you found this story helpful, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below if you've ever experienced something like this. Let's talk about it. You're not alone.